Mr. James Billy Hogue passed from this life at the Eulogy County Health and Rehab on Friday morning, August 4th, 2017, surrounded by his loving family. He was born on July 11, 1939, to the late Bedford and Beulah Bowman Hogue. He and Colleen were married for 56 wonderful years and raised 4 beautiful children. He loved his children, going to church, and helping others. He also enjoyed fishing, working on cars, along with other kinds of machinery. James is survived by his loving wife, Sylvia Colleen Hogue of Livingston, daughters Sheila Green and husband Dennis of Livingston, Cindy Robbins and husband David of Livingston, Amy Warren and husband Jay of Livingston, son Brian Hogue and wife Priscilla of Murfreesboro, grandchildren John Ross Robbins and special friend Stephanie Sherfield of Murfreesboro, Brittany Green of Mount Juliet, Kendra Danner and husband Josh of Livingston, Rebecca, Mason, and Jacob Hogue of Murfreesboro, sisters Edna Smith and husband Benny of Dodson's Branch, Joyce Ramsey and husband Junior of Hogue. In addition to his parents, he was preceded in death by his brothers, Joe Hogue, Melvin Hogue, John Hogue, and sisters Essie Hogue and Jean Rayburn. On behalf of the family, I'd like to thank all of you for the care, concern, prayers, and most of all for your presence today. We are overwhelmed. It was great spending time with many of you last night and earlier today. All of you are family to us. I want to apologize if I spoke and maybe I didn't get your name or your face right away. I find myself trying to narrow down to the category of family or work acquaintance, classmate, friend, or in the case of one gentleman earlier, he was just the wrong visitation. I've heard said that when we near the end of our life, very few of us will wish we had spent more time at work. But many may wish they'd spent more time with family and friends. And so despite the circumstances, I'm thankful for the time that we've had to visit. It's been meaningful and comforting to our family. Our family would also like to thank the staff of both Upper Cumberland Hospice and Overton County Nursing Home. Words are not enough to express the gratitude in our hearts for the care and compassion that they've shown our family, especially our dad. Most of you know Dad had been sick for a very long time. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's over 10 years ago, but the onset of the disease was likely years earlier. The medical community is yet to develop any real cure or even an effective treatment. So while my dad's body remained strong from the years of hard work and clean living, there was nothing any of us could do to stop the inevitable. Over the last several years, my beautiful mother and wonderful sisters reordered their lives to provide around-the-clock care for Dad. This allowed him to spend all but the last few months at home, surrounded by the family that he really loved. For that selfless and incredible sacrifice, I want to say to my mom and my sisters, thank you. I don't know how they managed over the last few years. Maybe they drew strength from the life that Dad led before us. To know my dad was to know him as a Christ follower. His life was driven and defined by a deep faith that he often expressed through the kind of sacrificial care for others that Paul described to the church in Philippi. He wrote, in humility, count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to your own interests, but to the interests of others. These words from Philippians 2, 3, and 4 provide a really good summary and picture of how Dad conducted his life. Moving past thank yous, I'd like to leave you with a glimpse of the lasting impact Dad had on my life. First, Dad taught me how a man acts and how a man behaves. In 1 Corinthians, Paul again writes, "Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong." When we ran into trouble or things got hard, Dad would often say, "We'll just have to figure something out. We'll find a way." He, along with my mom, found a way to lovingly raise and provide well for 4 kids. He and Mom found a way to be generous with their time and money. He found a way to protect his family and his marriage. And no matter how tired he was after work, he always found a way to take me fishing or play ball in the backyard. Later in life, even in the grips of this disease, he found a way to build bonds and lasting memories with his grandkids. Men find a way, and my dad found a way. Finally, Dad taught me that the words we use with those that we love most matter most. One last verse of Scripture, Paul is speaking directly to fathers in Ephesians 6. When he writes, "Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up with discipline and instruction of the Lord." Dad could be firm, but often was merciful and judicious with them. What shaped me most was that he rarely missed a chance to say "I love you." He very oftenly talked about how proud he was of his children. He would say, "We are blessings." The words we choose with our children and our grandchildren have lasting impact. I am blessed to have a dad that was generous with affirmation and encouragement. I always felt like he believed in me more than I did. It's a precious gift for a son to believe that his father. I hope that with time I earn the right to occupy the place in the hearts of my children that he occupies in mine. Standing here, I don't think his story has come to an end. The imprint of his life, a life well lived, on his family and on his friends will carry his influence across generations. This is just the end of the first chapter. I'll conclude with a poem that I adapted from Karen K. Boyer. It's called Dad. He never looks for praises. He was never one to boast. He went on quietly working for those he loved the most. His dreams were seldom spoken. His wants were very few. And most of the time his worries went unspoken too. A sheltering, firm foundation through all the storms of life. A steady hand to hold to in times of stress and strife. Wisdom we can turn to when times are good or bad. One of our greatest blessings, the man that we call Dad.